Welcome back to the final installment. This has been a year-long process, and I'm making it just under the gun, to turn my dad's book into a video form. So these are chapters 9 and 10 that catch you up to his current life. And hopefully later on, as we get a little older, we'll do another chapter and catch up what we missed in the last few years. I still hope to have a photography book coming, and there's a little bonus after this where me and my dad explore his record collection. So if you like music history at all, it's pretty cool. Some of the albums and people he met, musicians, it's pretty neat. So stick around for that too at the end. So let's get going. Welcome to chapter 9. We're going to be talking about Debbie, family, and going forward. Now, before we start, though, there is a section of the book I skipped that had some of his favorite photography. Listed some pictures, and I'll flash a few pictures up now. But that demands kind of a whole separate interview. I want to go over. You have another book you wrote about your favorite photos, and I think it'd be more appropriate to do that. So if you see a little link appearing, I'm hopefully within a year get that finished. And this should just link to it. If you don't see a link, it's not done yet. All right, so let's go on to Debbie, family, and going forward.
Well, I had a decade in my 40s where I was single and really had no intentions of going down a marriage route again. Then I had a friend, Carol Petrin, who was also a colleague, co-lawyer in some cases, very prominent lawyer in her field. And she kept telling me that she had this friend that she thought that we'd match up very well. And this was 8 years out, 9 years out, I don't know, 10 years. And but she kept telling me also that Debbie, her name was Debbie, wasn't ready yet to date. She and her husband had separated. And that was fine. And then finally, all of a sudden, we made it happen. We had a date. And wow, she is one fantastic woman, person, however you want to say it. And in the next 3 or 4 weeks, we must have gone out 8, 10 times.
What years are we talking about here?
Well, mom was still alive. So it must have been the end of 91, early 91. And, or was it 90? Anyway, 91, somewhere in there, 91. So somewhere about after 7 or 8 dates, in conversation one night, Debbie said, well, when I move, I'm going to, when I move to California. And I said, can you repeat that? And she said, when I move to California, when are you moving? And she said, next week. So you're moving next week? And she said, well, you knew that. Didn't Carol tell you that? I said, no, she didn't tell me that. So I went to my female friends, my colleagues, for advice, and by the way, there must have been everybody that I know that said I had no plans to ever get married again. Certainly these 3 women that I'm going to mention quickly had heard that many times. And basically the question was, I met this woman who is Debbie, who's fantastic. And I really think that, this might be a significant relationship. And she's moving. What do I do? And all 3 said, well, if you really feel like that, tell her. Maybe you can change her mind. So we go out again, and I said, that move, do you really think you have to make that move? And she said, oh, yeah, no, I have to make that move. Why? And I said, well, I didn't say I'm in love or anything like that, but I certainly implied it. I said, I really think if you stayed here, we could have a very significant relationship. And, you're very special, and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm sure Debbie just thought, well, this is the guy who's having fun with me, wants me to stay. She said, no, I got to go to the West Coast. I have to go out there. So a year and a half followed where when I go to the West Coast, and most of the visits, or many of them, call her and see if we could get together. Sometimes that really required effort by both of us, because I'd be in Los Angeles and she was in Sacramento, and we'd meet in San Francisco or something like that. But we really hit it off. It came a year and a half later, somewhere in 1993, I guess, that we started dating cross country every couple of weeks. And then, as fate would have it, her ex-husband was back on the East Coast. Her job was changing out there. She could get a job here, and the girls would at least be closer to their biological dad. She moved, and we both took what was a big step in our lives, and a fantastic step. I mean, I'm lucky enough to have met Debbie 25 years or so later, maybe 26 years now. I still think she's incredible, and still find, I'm in love with her as much more now than any other time, because that's who she is. And I got two daughters.
That's true.
Yeah. The two daughters, Lauren and Lindsay, at the time were 5 and 6, I think. And they came, and they were lovely, and I didn't have to go through what you'd sometimes go through in a second marriage, where there are teenagers involved, where they get to hate you because you're a substitute for their dad, because I wasn't a substitute for their dad. So that worked out very nicely.
And you have some pictures. When did you guys actually get married? Do you remember?
January 21st, 1995.
I can't believe it's been so long, because, I look at these old pictures of us celebrating, and to me this was like yesterday.
Yeah, we're coming up on 22 years in another 3 weeks.
Yeah, I keep saying, like your new wife, Debbie. It's been 20 years or something.
And there we are at the bar at Galileo, having a toast, and almost all of the families in there, including TJ. TJ's in there somewhere.
I think.
And even Mark Scott.
Yeah, Mark Scott.
Who was like
Tony,
a fifth son at the time.
John Fakowski, even some of my friends are in here.
Yeah. Monica,
Yeah. Give me an idea of why'd you get married in a restaurant?
Well, first of all, Galileo was a famous restaurant and great food. And I went there all the time, and I had a very good relationship with not only the owner, who was a very famous chef, Roberto Donna, but with the maitre d'. And Debbie and I talked about where to get married, and for whatever reason, I said I'd like to do it at Galileo. And no fancy church or anything like that. And we arranged it. And they opened for us at a time when they normally weren't open, which was Saturday at noon. They didn't open till usually 6 at night on Saturdays. And I picked the menu, and we had just a great location. It was fun. We had a little band there, and it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was a cool wedding. I had a good time. Lots of dancing. Okay. I have to interrupt here for a minute. We also got to show you my dad's dance moves at his wedding. So prepare yourself for white people dancing in the mid-90s. Because I have video proof that at one time I could do the splits. Although I don't know if I completely get the splits, but I do them the difficult way, right? So I think I'm like a mimosa or two away from hitting it completely. Well, you get the idea. That still makes me laugh. Oh, the 90s. Okay, let's get back to the story. And you guys, there's a picture of you here too. Where's that from?
That was taken in maybe the first or second year of our marriage, where we traveled to Point Reyes in California, a place I'd been before, to stay in a treehouse. And the treehouse was owned, it was a suite actually, but it was a treehouse. It was up in 100 feet or so, I guess. I wonder how we got up there. I don't even remember. But the point was that it was owned by a patent attorney friend of mine. He and his wife had this place, and it sounded like a great spot.
So that's a tree house. That's fun.
Yeah, and Debbie and I used to go away one weekend a month.
Yeah, you guys have been all over the place.
All over the
like
place.
Scotland, Peru, Thailand, everywhere. I mean,
England, Italy, several times.
now, you're quite a world traveler. If you were me and you were young, where would you go? If
You just have one trip, or you want?
no, I mean, what was your favorite place to go?
Well, favorite place is Italy, and that might just be because I'm Italian. I don't know, but the sun is always out. The people are friendly. The food is fantastic, and you were there at 17. You have some memories of it. It's just a really nice trip, and the Italians generally just aren't locked into being super tight like they are in people in some countries.
Very relaxed. Right?
Yeah, to the point they'll drive on the sidewalk if they can't get on the street.
And the shops just shut down in the middle of the day. You can't get anything done.
Yeah, 2 or 3 hours to go take a nap.
Just takes a nap in the middle of the day.
And they're
pretty good culture.
They walk, they walk a lot, so they're thin. Even though they have a fabulous diet, I think, very Mediterranean diet of fish and, of course, pasta and veggies. Great country.
So if I could only go one place, you're watching this, you only have the money for one country, start in Italy. I think Italy's probably the funnest.
It's also very romantic, if you're traveling.
So good for a single guy or also good for married?
For a single guy, it's probably not. If you're looking, to go to a place where you're going to meet some women that will be receptive to an American visitor. The Italian women are not standoffish. It's just that there's a amount of respect that they expect.
Yeah.
And if you want to meet women, I guess I've never been there.
Italian women aren't easy. They're married to the church, so
well,
you put a lot of effort in there.
I don't know if that's true of all of them.
Maybe, but when we were there, I got nowhere.
Yeah, well.
But when maybe that's changed over the years, I would say.
I don't know. We haven't been there in 10 years.
Hard work for a single man.
We haven't been there in 10 years. But if you're a single guy looking for a place to have fun, I would guess Australia. I've never been there. Certainly Thailand, Hong Kong.
Yeah, I think that. But as a married person, where's probably the best place to go, you think, just because it's so romantic?
Yeah, and there are other places that get great marks. We loved Portugal, and we certainly loved our trip to Thailand. And Buenos Aires, we went to Buenos Aires, had a wonderful weekend there. The world's got some beautiful places, and if you just go with an open mind, and if you have the money to travel decently. My first trip to Italy, I stayed in hospices. I don't mean hospices, hostels.
The hostels.
Hostels, not hospices. That's coming someday.
Scotland looks pretty neat, huh?
Scotland's incredible. The west coast of Scotland, Debbie and I had an absolutely incredible first trip there. And we stayed at a place on the way to the Isle of Skye, I guess, called Ersag. And it's an old, now basically a hotel, just on the shore of the North Sea. And the Scottish people are very friendly. I can't say a lot about their food.
But it does look like the movies.
Salmon's great. Mm-hmm.
Doesn't it look like the movies with the crackety rocks and the fog?
Oh, yeah. And it's beautiful. Moors? Yeah. And if you're still a railroad freak, they have one of the best rail rides in the world in Western Scotland. But I'd like to go back there. We've been there 3 times. Only once on that trip. But, we usually combine it when we go to England and try to get up to Scotland also.
The end of this book talks about kind of up to today, but we skipped over a spot, was your accident in Memphis that changed your life. We need to address that. We kind of talked about that you were walking across the street, got hit by a car. Do you remember, you want to tell me your side of this, and I can tell you my side?
Yeah, you know more about it than I do because I was in a coma my first month in Memphis. But in a very big trial, walking back with my trial team, 5 in the evening, 5:30, June 30th, walking across the street, I never saw or if I did see, I don't remember, a car that hit me in the crosswalk, and I smashed its windshield. I've seen pictures of the crushed windshield, both with my shoulder and my head, and then came down on the ground and was, the rest is, I'm told, I was still kind of in shock and conscious, said I'm okay, I'll get up, and of course I wasn't okay, I was bleeding profusely. And the ambulance came from the hospital just 5-10 minutes away and took me to the hospital, and I was in a medically induced coma for a month, which you can tell more about. My wonderful family, and especially my wonderful wife, Debbie, but sons, daughters came to see me. I'm told that family was told, at least Debbie was told, wasn't clear at first if I'd live or not. But then it wasn't clear that I'd be able to talk or walk, and that there were very significant odds against me. And after a month, they brought me out of the coma, and when I could demonstrate that I was at least able to communicate, I guess, they flew me in an ambulance to the hospital here at Mount Vernon, where they have a brain trauma center. Spent another month there recuperating and starting for the first time to understand that I never finished the trial, and that I wasn't going to get back to finish the trial and who was finishing it. And even had a little trouble back to Memphis when I came out of the coma of remembering who my sons and wife and daughters were. It was not bad, I guess. And after coming out from that second month in Memphis, came home and could not drive for most of the coming year, I guess. Debbie drove me daily to do therapy at that hospital, walking therapy, trying to learn how to remember things shown on a computer, 5 objects, name the 5, then black screen, name what you remember the 5, and I might name 2. Put the same 5 objects back up. All right, remember those 5, black screen, name them. Couldn't name the 2 I just named, might name 2 of the others. So, it was a big uphill battle all the way. But after a year or so, returned to work at least in some capacity. And that's it. That's what I remember.
That was a long year of rehab or two to get you back to with a brain injury, you never know what the heck's going to happen. So the doctors can't tell you if he's going to recover or not. So the first 2 or 3 months, we're thinking, this guy doesn't even know where he is. He doesn't, because you could see he knew something was going on, but the speech area got damaged. So you would point to something and another word would come out of your mouth. So instead of pointing at the clock, you'd say, that apple over there would be at 5 o'clock. And you'd be like, and that's common with brain injuries. So it took a while to work through that. Every once in a while, you call something by the wrong name. Not too much.
I think that still happens, but now I think it's more a function of just age.
Yeah, it's kind of mixed with that. It's a little noticeable. You can tell sometimes when you get tired, it really comes out. But other than that, you've recovered really well. To sit here and be able to do this interview and talk about stuff from your childhood, from a brain injury, that's amazing.
Well, yeah, long-term memory's pretty good. Short-term memory has gotten, I think, to the point where I don't know that it necessarily has anything to do with the accident anymore. It might just be what's common as people get older. The short-term memory's not as good. But I feel, I've said that I made an 85% recovery over time.
Do you have a lot of anger or bitterness towards all this happening, or have you let that go, processed it?
Never felt angry or bitter about it. Bitter, maybe the fact that I'm disappointed I never finished that trial. I'd have won that trial. Every lawyer thinks he'd win his trial if he didn't finish it, but I would have. And you know, I still have great regrets about especially the burden it put on my family, especially Debbie, for that year and the years to follow it. You know, I've never been 100% since. But it also cost my firm a lot of things, you know. I was a very prominent figure in that firm in terms of getting work, rainmaker is what they call it, and doing the trials, running the department. And a lot of things changed after that. And I'm not alone in acknowledging the impact that that had on my firm. So
One real positive thing that came out of the accident, I think, is I really got to see the side of your family. Like, I didn't really know Debbie that well, and I didn't know the girls, and they stepped up to the plate and took care of you. And it really just showed a lot of love, because, you know, some people with less character would have just been like, oh, hell no, I'm not taking care of this guy, and left. And so kudos to Debbie and the girls. And not that we didn't do our part too, but they lived with it every day while you were going through this. So
when Debbie
that's
says,
pretty huge.
Debbie says the same thing about my sons. And so, I mean, I don't remember any of you there, but I know you were there.
I was there the whole time, practically.
Yeah, no, you, and I don't mean, when I said I know you were there,
I know, but
I meant all four of you.
I get it, because I remember you really didn't wake up and know what was going on until about 2 or 3 days before we flew you out.
Yeah.
I mean, that was when you sort of started, you kept wanting to call your travel agent and fly us all out of there.
Did I?
You kept asking for your phone and been like, let me call my travel agent, and and we're like, Dad, they're not going to let you leave. No. Let me have my travel agent. And you just were like, you were trying to take charge. It was fun.
Very funny.
Yeah. And
I
then,
heard that before.
Oh, yeah. You kept trying to call. You want us to give her your phone all the time because you wanted to call people to get you the hell out of there.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm fine. It was real stressful for the family, but I'm glad we got through it. And there are some good things that came out. I mean, you know, it's kind of forced you to stop and you know, spend some time at home and hang out with the family and not so career oriented. And I know that's not exactly how you wanted to do it, but I am grateful for that.
Well, I think a good point of, that Debbie and I have talked about a lot is it happened later on in my career. It would have been a killer if that had happened at 45 or 50.
I didn't think
you know,
of
this
that.
happened when I'm 63, 64 years old. And I had a incredible career at that point. I still would have tried cases for another 5, 7 years. I probably still would have retired at 70, as I did. But I would have gone out, you know, like not the Matador, but I would have gone out charging ahead, you know, doing the trials.
And
it was kind of nice. So when I went back to the courts, especially the one in Delaware, and I showed up in one of the Medtronic cases that I was supposed to try, I was there as of counsel. And the first thing the judge said when she walked in, Sue Robinson, she said, "Mr. Lupo, I see you here. We were so worried about you. I'm glad to see that you were back. And we are glad for you and your family that you are back."
That was nice.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah. So, it's good, you know, it's just nice to know that, and, you know, there were lots of emails that I read later and read as recently as 2 years ago, you know, just reliving some of that, and it's just wonderful.
Yeah, I remember, I think we made a webpage for you, and it was kind of the first time the internet was still pretty new, and so that was a big deal for people to be able to do that. These days you'd have a Facebook page with 1,000 emails. I can't even imagine, but back then that was a big deal. You know, people were dropping nice stories about you. So let's talk about your family growing. You get 2 daughters, you get grandkids, and more grandkids, and more grandkids. Talk about that. Where are we at now?
Well, you know, here's only child Ray, and 75 years after his birth, I think there's 6 children, 4 sons, 2 daughters, 7 grandchildren. That's 13. And then you start adding up us daughter-in-laws, son-in-law, and then have a Thanksgiving dinner, and a couple of friends like Mike and others, and you're up to 23 to 29 people.
Yeah,
So I always ask myself,
it's been a
how the
long
hell did
journey.
that happen? I go from one guy to that big a family.
Yeah, because we didn't have a big family when we were a kid. We had
No.
Pop over and Grandma, and that was about it. Because you guys were single kids. Only children, you and Mom. So we
Yeah.
didn't have a bunch of uncles floating around or something.
No.
So we had our Christmas dinners maybe 7 to 10 people, and then all of a sudden, in like the 2000s, the millennium, we're getting 20, 25 around the table until we're almost at 30 now.
Well, I
It's
think,
crazy.
the Italian expression alla familia, the family is what you're here for. You hope to go through life with good health and love of family and love of people. And those are the important things. And, having Lauren and Lindsay added a dimension after having 4 sons, watching them bounce off of walls at 4 and 5, like boys do, like Caden does today at 2. To have 2 girls who sit and talk to each other and share dolls. They have an argument. Oh, I hate you comes out, and then 20 minutes later they're back playing with the same dolls. It's a learning experience, and that was fun too. So, the expanded family is a great thing. I'm not the greatest grandparent in the world, but I love them, and it's good.
Yeah, what's it like? That moment where you started having grandkids? Is it like when Tom had TJ? That was pretty early. That was in '91, I think, or something.
Yeah.
But then everybody else came a good decade later.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's.
What was that like to have a grandkid?
Well, again, I have to factor in the work experience. As TJ grew up, I tried to see him play football games, and Tom would tell me it was 4 in the afternoon, and I'm working on a case, and so I got to see TJ maybe play football 3 or 4 times, including one time when unfortunately he injured his shoulder, which still bothers him today. I got to see TJ play basketball 3 or 4 times in his teens, because that was on Saturday. You at least had a shot at it, But the Thursday game at the high school was tough. So I didn't see TJ nearly as much as I should have. And that goes right down the line with Gio and Sophia. Unfortunately, we had several years where we were connected on Sundays, mostly due to Debbie was very good at wanting not only for her to be a good grandmother, but for me to be a good grandfather and having contact with them. The same with Gio and not Gio, Leo and Jaden. They live out in Leesburg. It's not that far away. Don't see them enough. And Caden and Kaya are close by, so I do see them more often. But the reality is that it's a different experience for me. Some people absolutely love being a grandparent, want to spend hours and hours with their grandkids. I'm very happy to see them, enjoy them, love them, be there if they need me, or something I can help them with, like education or.
When they get older and can do a conversation and hang out, it's easier for you.
Yeah, it's easier. And
I think that's normal. I'm kind of the same way. I do a lot better with older kids than younger kids.
Well, I look at a guy like Tom Malone, for example, or VR's parents. They come all the way across the water, from Bulgaria, just to see their grandkids, and they love it. They spend a month or 2 with them. And Tom Malone, he loves his grandkids. I'm looking at grandfathers mostly, and I can't say I'm a wonderful grandfather, and yet, I'm there. I love them. So there you go.
Yeah, but you did good as a dad. For
until I got out of the government.
Well, yeah, but it's a trade-off, Dad. It's
sure.
like,
yeah.
And this is a tough thing we talked about.
Yeah.
Do you have more quality of life and less money, or do you choose to have more security and money and less quality of life? And those things don't match sometimes, and that's a tough, either one's a right decision.
Yeah, well, you try to make a balance out of them, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's a tough tough walk, and no one can fault you for that. I mean, that's...
But the fun of the family getting together at Thanksgiving and Festivus around Christmas time and getting the family picture, which there's one in the book taken here at a Thanksgiving a few years ago. And of course in that family was our wonderful doggie, Zach. I can't go through without mentioning him. He was pretty special. So, you know, it's a good day. It's fun.
Sorry. As we wrap up this book, we're pretty much done with the material in the book. Let's just talk. And over the next few months and years, we'll probably just keep cranking out videos of whatever we think, you know, work and whatever we want to talk about or I forgot to put in here. And there's all kinds of stuff you've done that didn't make this book. But as far as life goes, if you were to pass away tomorrow, do you have any regrets? Do you feel good that you did a good job?
I have no regrets. I had an absolutely fabulous life. I said to you and I've said to Debbie several times, if not for 20 seconds of my life, I would almost say I had a perfect life. And that 20 seconds, of course, is the 20 seconds where I either didn't see the car or I didn't get out of the way of it when it hit me. Because that certainly changed my life. But I can't say that it didn't change it in ways that were for the better. It's just that I would have liked to have finished my trial career. You know, the only thing I didn't do as a lawyer is argue a Supreme Court case. And I had a Supreme Court case to argue after my accident. And I had to let someone else argue it. My name's on the brief, but, you know,
the only regret there is that.
Yeah.
It's a professional regret.
Well, what a great life, you know, and it's been wonderful all the way around. Not perfect, but wonderful.
What about if you could pass on to the next generation, people that don't know you, grandkids, what do you think is the most important thing in life that you've learned?
I think the most important thing in life is that you know about this one life. There may be others. You know about this one life. The importance of this one life is to live it so you enjoy it, so that you have fun, so that you certainly believe in certain things, whatever they are, but so live it in such a way that you don't hurt anybody living it. That's the hard part, because you can hurt people's feelings sometimes, not even know you did. But don't have an intention to hurt somebody. Don't have an intention to believe that you know everything and they don't because they disagree with you. None of that stuff's important, I think. I think what's important is to love life and your family and pray, if you're going to pray, for good health and whatever else you think you could believe in that is good.
And with the time you have left, do you have anything else you want to accomplish or do?
Other than minor keeping of records and files, no. And with the exception of enjoying the time I have left, playing tennis, doing some photography, enjoying family, watching them grow. And those are pretty simple because I'm already doing those. And now that I'm getting new knees, I can be able to play some more tennis. That's it.
Okay. I think it's been a fun book. Thanks for doing this.
Hey, thank you. A very unselfish act of you to spend that many hours doing this, and just the beginning of having to put it on the computers and put it in a form that somebody might want to see it someday, family and others.
I think it's, you know, I mean, it's fun to do for you, and I enjoy the stories, but I also think it's important to document for the future. I really wish we had done this for our grandparents, and, you know, that not that, who the hell would have thought that technology would exist back then, but
no.
It would have been nice. I have no idea what Grandpa really sounded like or did. You know, he was gone before I was here, or Doris, or anybody. So I'm glad that we can at least leave this behind, both of us, I guess.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you at the next film. This will probably autoplay into something more about Ray Lupo. Maybe we'll. Oh, you know what? I got a cool film about his jazz collection and his records. So we'll just let it roll into that.
Oh, and maybe finish that up if there's any more to say about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks. Bye. Wave bye.
Bye.
This concludes My Life, Then and Now, by Raphael Vincent Lupo. I hope you enjoyed his book and this celebration of my dad. Thanks so much for joining us through this whole adventure. I hope you enjoyed this book, and if you watched all these chapters, you are awesome. Thanks for doing this. I hope my dad really appreciated it and loved it, and I think he did. He keeps telling me how much he enjoys watching these old clips, and this is a good way for all those people that just never got around to reading to at least see what was in the book and enjoy it. So I hope you guys have, and I hope this becomes a little piece of history later on. Maybe someone's watching this, some great-great-grandkid 50 years from now. So if I'm still around, send me an email. Right? If not, I'll probably be like a cyborg or something by then. So I'll see you then. Also, stick around for the little bonus video where we're going to talk about some pretty cool jazz records and all kinds of cool music from the early 40s up.